So you know the story, right? Moses goes up the mountain, there's stone, they write the words, God writes the words on the stones. Moses comes down the mountain and sees the people are dancing around a golden cow, and he is less than pleased and hurls them to the ground. They shatter. It's not good for anybody. Then Moses has to go back up. Now Moses has to carve the stones, comes back down. Now we have the Ten Commandments. We know that that's familiar to us. All right. Well, we're in Deuteronomy now, right? We're in the last book of Torah, where Moses retells us all the stories. And when Moses gets to this story, he says that God says, I need you to hew 2 stones for the stones that you broke. For the luchot asher shibarta. And our sages wondered, why did God have to say the stones that you broke? We know, like everyone knows that those stones are the ones that Moses shattered. So Rashi, who's like 11th century France, is kind of the first layer commentator from the medieval period when we're looking to understand Torah. Rashi says that the asher shibarta, that which you broke, is God saying, Yasher Koach. Do you know the words Yasher Koach? You're gonna learn. Yasher Koach means like, way to go! Go forward in strength. The luchot asher shibarta, the stones that you broke, way to go. And that seems a little odd. You'd think that the stones that God carved, that God etched God's word into, that were shattered because of this fundamental sin, this theological mutiny of the people at the base of the mountain, we wouldn't be celebrating that decision. But this moment is, and this moment and Rashi's interpretation of it are critical to how we come to understand some of who we are as a people. To me, the moment of shattering the tablets fits well with what will happen towards the end of this book. It's old. I don't think it's a spoiler if I tell you. Moses will die before entering the promised land, which feels unfair. Moses, who schlepped the people through the desert for 40 years. Moses, by whose hand all these miracles and signs and portents happened. Moses, for whom there is no prophet like Moses. Maybe Moses should get to go to the promised land and see it, but Moses doesn't go. Moses doesn't go. The tablets that God made are shattered. Torah's teaching us something really important about who we are. There's a risk. It's okay. The children belong in synagogue. It's cool. You're good. The tablets, if we had those tablets that God made, how would we have treated those tablets? I know. How? I don't know. Right? Perhaps those tablets would have become the subject of worship themselves. Rather than the words on them, we would have come to worship and venerate the physical object instead. If Moses had brought the people across the river, we would have started to worship Moses as this godlike figure beyond the prophets. Would have been perhaps a little bit too much. The tradition is insisting we don't worship stuff. We don't worship people. More important than the tangible physical things are the ideas. It means that the theological work, the way that we understand who we are as people of faith, the spiritual life of the Jew is hard. We don't have a lot of stuff. We have to be cautious about our stuff, lest the stuff itself become the subject of worship rather than the big, beautiful, fundamental, foundational ideas that are the core of who we are as a people, that are a core of our tradition. God says, way to go, Moses, for the shattering of the tablets, to remind us not to get stuck with just the the tangible, the stuff that we can grab a hold of, but that our responsibility is something bigger, it's something grander. We're not a people who are stuck just in this moment. We don't worship the work of our hands. We don't see people who have wealth or power or fame. We don't see them as bigger or beyond who we are. They're human beings. And our job is to focus on the values, the visions, the hopes, the aspirations of our tradition held within our texts. And when we do that hard spiritual work, when we're willing to engage in spiritual creativity, to form a foundation of intellectual curiosity, that's how we see who we are as a people. What it means to be a Jew, who we are as a Jewish people, is our people who are curious, who ask questions, who are invested in ideas. We're an intellectual and a spiritual community. We're a community tied together by values and aspirations, hopes and dreams that our people have carried for hundreds, thousands of years and generations. The spiritual work of the Jew is hard. And the willingness to engage in it, to be brave enough to encounter the idea and not get stuck just with stuff. We've schlepped all over the world together. We've been kicked out of this place and that place, maybe with a rucksack full of artifacts and items that matter to us. But what bound us, what gave us our strength and our power that allowed us to survive and sustain, was our insistence on ideas, on curiosity, on study, on conversation, on the spiritual vision beyond just the temporal, just the stuff of right now. We're in this time period in the Jewish calendar of, we had our 5th high holiday meeting this week. We're going through cue sheets. I don't know if you're there yet. Maybe you've sent out the invitation for your Rosh Hashanah Day 2 brunch. Or maybe you have the Evite open but haven't actually typed it in yet. But it's time. It's time now to start wondering through the big ideas of who we are, asking the big questions about who we want to be in the year ahead. We're edging towards that period of preparation where we'll do the big, hard, imaginative, creative, important, sacred, theological, spiritual, and intellectual work of the Jewish people. And how fortunate are we to be part of community where we get to do that together. For now, we'll continue to meander and wander on our way to the promise, grateful that we have hands to hold as we engage in that work together. Shabbat Shalom.